Alright, we have temporary shelter, have some stones cooking. Need to build a roof sooner rather than later, but we'll get around to it. So, today I wanted to talk about fear. Now, right off the get-go, that seems like a very strange thing to want to talk about and discuss, but I'll just run through what got me thinking along these lines. So, a couple of days ago, I was ambling about. I don't even remember what I was doing, to be honest. And I started to think about fear. And I started to remember back to a lecture that I was listening to quite a while ago, where the lecturer was essentially talking about our ancestors. And what he was talking about was way back in the day, back in the caveman days or even before, our ancestors would have been small little ape or monkey-like creatures, probably running around open savannas with all kinds of very vicious predators. We're talking saber-toothed cats and whatever else existed back in the day. And our poor ancestors had nothing. They had no stone tools at the time. They had no thick hide to protect them if they were attacked. They had no really sharp fangs. Yeah, we can bite and we can tear meat, but that only takes you so far. Especially when you've got predators that can probably bite your head off in one fell swoop, sort of a deal. So we didn't really have a lot going for us back then, except our brains and potentially opposable thumbs. And what that essentially resulted in was we evolved to have brains which would always consider the worst possible outcome as a survival mechanism. The example they gave in the lecture was you've got our ancestor running around foraging for food, they're in an open plain, they're not the fastest creature out there. Like I said, they have no weapons, they have no opposable thumbs, they have no sharp fangs to really defend themselves. Everything out there is stronger and tougher than them and can kill them very easily. That's pretty much the reality of things back then. Now, you can imagine our ancestor is walking along, foraging for food, and from the corner of their eye they see a rock. They see a rock. And they see this rock and they think, okay, it's 10 to 20 meters away, it's just a rock, it should be fine. But in the back of their head, what's happening is their brain thinks, what if that is not a rock? What if that is actually a predator that is hunched down, slowly creeping towards you, and the moment you turn your back, it's going to ambush you and kill you in one bite? You'll be dead. Oh, damn. That's a long way down. And what the lecture was essentially talking about was our ancestors were pre-programmed to always assume the worst possible outcome of any scenario, and that was, in fact, a survival strategy. So, yes, that little strange lump on the horizon could actually be just simple rock. We'll be fine. Or it could be a lion, or a saber-toothed tiger, or what have you, slowly advancing towards you, ready to eat you. Now, being eaten is obviously the worst possible outcome, and you generally don't want to get eaten if you can help it. So, we had that sort of evolutionary tech built into us, and that same technology exists to this day, and it's still operating. So what that means is that as we go through our lives, generally living in cities or urban environments, generally relatively safe environments, from the perspective of what our ancestors were living in, we no longer need that same technology, but we can't remove it. So what that means is that every day in your life as you go about doing what you're doing, there is technology inside your brain which is triggering fear responses and controlling you in ways you may not even realize, which is a holdover from the caveman days. What that means is that as you go through life, you need to keep a close eye on yourself and your own behavior. Not just in a social sense where we generally need to control ourselves and not necessarily speak freely and openly for fear of hurting others, but actually controlling ourselves in the sense that there could be ancient evolutionary technology hardwired into our brains from the caveman days, which previously kept us alive when we were in those environments, but now is actually something of a hindrance to us and our activities and the things we want to do today. So many times have I seen and heard stories of people saying they're too afraid or too shy to talk, to engage with other people, to pursue the things they want to pursue, primarily out of fear. And in no way am I making fun of those people. In no way am I doing that. I have also had times when I've been too afraid to talk and engage with people. It's a common thing. But all I've done is learn to better understand why that kind of feeling and that irrational fear is being triggered, where it's coming from, what it was meant to do, and why it's not necessarily as useful in the modern day. And by realizing those things, I'm able to better control my response and reaction to the point where I now can talk to people, I can engage with people, I can do things which previously I thought I was too terrified to do and to achieve. And there are still things which terrify me, and there's still many, many times where this same evolutionary fear controls me and influences me even now. So I'll never be free of it. It will always be there. It'll always exist. But by being mindful of its existence, by understanding that it's there and what it was meant to do, and coming to terms with that, I do find I'm able to live a bit more freely. I'm able to do more of what I want to do and achieve things that I previously thought were impossible. And my message is there is no silver bullet, there is no immediate cure to all of this, but if you are feeling those kind of irrational fears, you're not alone.